In this project, we're going to create a paperclip that uses parameters, and what that means is that I can easily change the size of the paperclip just by changing one or two parameters. So if I were to go to change parameters, we can see that right now my base height for my paperclip is 40. If I were to change that to something like, say, 200, okay, we can see how that made the paperclip much larger, and it updated every single part of it, not just one side. I can also make it much smaller, and I can change the diameter of it as well. So to get started, I'll make a new project and I'll create a new design, and then I will start a sketch on the front plane. I'm going to do a straight line from the origin. It's important on this that we start on the origin. I'm going to go up about 40, but it really doesn't matter because I'm going to add a parameter then that's going to control that. So I'm going to go up to modify, change parameters, and right now we just have the default, which are none. So I'm going to create a new parameter. I'll say OK. I'm going to call this base height, and then I'm going to set it to 40 and then say OK. Then I'm going to come back here, and instead of using the actual value of 40, I'm going to type in base height. You can see as soon as I put the B in there, it brings up all the parameters that I have, which is obviously just that one. So I'm going to select base height, hit enter, and now if I zoom way out and if I go back and look at my parameters and I change this to say 30, okay, we can see that that line automatically updated. So that's going to be very beneficial as we update and change our paperclip, because we're going to base everything off of that base height. So that is my first line of my paperclip. Now I'm going to come over here and make the second line that goes down further than the original one. So I'm going to go create another line. I'm going to come over, and really it doesn't matter how far I drag over. I'm going to add a parameter for that as well. It goes straight, so I'm going to bring that down. Does not matter how far. Then for that height, well, let's start with the distance. I'm going to just go from this line to this line, and for that distance I am going to do the base height times 0.625. Okay, so whatever this height is, it's going to take that times 0.625 and set that as the distance. So right now that is 25, which is perfect for my paperclip. Then I'm going to add a sketch dimension to this line, and I'm going to make it the base height times 1.5. So I want this one to always be 1.5 times the original. So that's going to make that 40 times 1.5, which is 60. Okay, so that takes care of that line. Now I'm going to create my next line. So the next line is going to come in some. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom, move in. Once again, doesn't matter how far because we will set a constraint. And I'll start dragging up. And then I'm going to add a sketch dimension to that one. And this one is going to be the same as the original line. So I'm just going to do base height. Hit enter. So now that one is going to be the same height, but I want to move it a little bit closer. I'm going to set a constraint between these two, and I will make that base height times 0.5. Okay. And then we have one last line. The paperclip would curve up and then come down. So I'm going to start another line starting from this point. Just once again come over here somewhere, drag down, doesn't matter how far. Hit escape, and then I will add a sketch dimension to that. That one I'll do base height times 0.75. And then finally I need to set the distance between these two, so I'll select this line and then this line, and I'll set that distance as base height times 0.375. Okay, so you can see how everything that we just did was based off of that base height. So if I were to go change that base height, all of those lines and the distance between those would update. Now I just need to create my curves. So to create the curves, I'm going to go to create arc, and I'm going to create a tangent arc. And to create a tangent arc, all I have to do is give it the 2 points that it should connect. So I'm going to start up here at the top of my paperclip. So that top point, drag over, connect it to the top over here. Okay, then I'll create another arc. So I'll go from arc, tangent arc again. And then finally, need to find the bottom of these 2 lines and connect those. And there we go. I've now connected all my lines. If I hit finish sketch, I won't see all those dimensions and everything, make it a little bit easier to see. I now have the shape of my paperclip. But it is still just 2-dimensional, so now I need to make it 3-dimensional. So what I'm going to do is rotate this to the side. I'm going to create a new sketch on this plane that is perpendicular to that point. So it should look like this. So my paperclip's laying flat. I'm going to create a circle at that point, and that circle is going to be the thickness of the wire. So right now it's obviously way too big, but I'm going to now add a sketch dimension for that, and I can type in a value, or I could go create another parameter. I'm going to go ahead and do a parameter called base. Actually, I'll call it wire gauge, because that's basically what we're doing. We're creating a wire gauge. So wire gauge equals 1, and what that just did, if I go to change my parameters, we can see that created an actual wire gauge parameter. So that is a shortcut for creating your parameters. We can either create it through here, or if we just set it right there within our sketches and set it equal, it will create it for us. So I now have 2 sketches, one the outline of the paperclip, and then my circle. Now I'm going to use what's called the sweep tool. So I'm going to go to create, go to sweep. The profile is going to be the circle. The path is going to be my paperclip. Make sure that chain select is selected so that it includes the entire path. Say OK, and there's our paperclip. If I go up to modify, go down to change parameters, increase the size of this to 120, we can see that it automatically updated every single part of my paperclip, since all of those dimensions were based off of the base height. So that is your paperclip. Now just make sure you remember to save it, and you're done with this project.